Remember when everyone said Filipino tennis was just a pipe dream? That the world stage was too big, too competitive, too dominated by the same European and American powerhouses? Well, someone forgot to tell AlexEala. The 20-year-old sensation just turned Dubai into her personal playground. And what happened in that desert oasis has the entire tennis world asking one question. How did a player ranked 47th in the world, coming off a crushing first-round exit at the Australian Open, suddenly transform into a giant killer who brought the 8th-ranked player on the planet to her knees? Stick around, because we're diving deep into AlexEala's Dubai masterpiece, the billionaire rumor that broke the internet, and why this tournament might just be the moment Philippine tennis changed forever. Quick favor, if you're loving this tennis content, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It costs nothing, takes a second, and means the world to us here at Baseline Z. Thanks if you did. Now back to the show. Picture this: Dubai, February 2026. The glittering skyline, the pristine courts, the elite field of the world's best female tennis players, all gathered for one of the biggest tournaments outside the Grand Slams. And there's AlexEala, fresh off what many called a disaster in Melbourne. First-round exit, questions swirling, whispers about whether she could handle the pressure at this level. The doubters were sharpening their knives, ready to write her off as just another player who couldn't make the leap from promising prospect to consistent threat. But Eala, she wasn't reading the headlines. She was writing her own story, one forehand winner at a time. The tournament started quietly enough. Her first-round match was solid, professional, exactly what you'd expect from a player trying to rebuild confidence. Nothing flashy, just good, clean tennis that got the job done. But then came round two, and that's when everything changed. That's when AlexEala stepped onto the court against Jasmine Paolini, the world number 8, and decided to announce herself in the loudest way possible. Now, let's talk about Paolini for a second, because beating her isn't like beating just anyone. This is a woman who's been in Grand Slam finals, who's taken down multiple top 10 players, who has weapons from every corner of the court. She's the kind of opponent who makes young players crumble under the weight of expectation. The kind of match where you're supposed to be grateful just to win a few games, get some experience, and move on with your head held high. Except nobody told Eala that script. From the first ball struck, you could see something different in her eyes. This wasn't a player just happy to be there. This was a competitor who believed, truly believed, she could win. The first set was a battle, point after point of grueling baseline rallies, Paolini trying to use her experience to wear down the younger player. But Eala matched her shot for shot, running down balls that had no business coming back, hitting angles that made the crowd gasp. And when that first set went to a tiebreak, you could feel the tension through the screen. This was the moment. Would Eala tighten up? Would the pressure get to her? Boom! Tie-break Eala, 7 points to 5. The crowd erupted. The Philippines erupted. Social media erupted. Because this wasn't just a set win, this was a statement. The second set? Pure drama. Paolini came out firing, clearly rattled by losing that first set, but determined to use her ranking, her experience, her championship pedigree to turn things around. And for a while, it looked like it might work. She raised her level, started finding more first serves, began dictating play the way top 10 players are supposed to. But every time Paolini pushed, Eala pushed right back. It was like watching a heavyweight boxing match where both fighters refused to go down. The games ticked by, the tension mounting with every changeover. And then, inevitably, brilliantly, it came down to another tiebreak. Can you imagine the nerves? The entire match, possibly your entire breakthrough moment, coming down to a handful of points against a player ranked 40 spots above you? Most players would crumble. Most players would play it safe, hope for the best, and accept whatever happened. Not AlexEala. She attacked. She went for her shots. She played like someone who knew this might be her only chance to show the world what she was capable of, and she wasn't about to waste it playing scared. When that final point landed, when Paolini's return sailed long, the emotion on Eala's face said everything. This wasn't just a win, this was validation. This was years of training in Spain, sacrifices from her family, doubts silenced, dreams coming true on the biggest stage outside the Grand Slams. But here's where things get interesting, folks, because what happened next is where reality and internet fantasy started to blur. Within hours of that victory, social media exploded with rumors, a billionaire endorsement, a message from Dubai royalty, whispers of multi-million-dollar deals and private jets and invitations to exclusive events. The story grew legs faster than you could say viral sensation. Headlines screamed about Eala becoming the face of luxury brands, about secret meetings with sheiks, about a fairy tale that seemed too perfect to be true. And you know what? It was. Because while the internet was busy creating fantasy fiction, the real story was actually better. No, there was no billionaire swooping in with a blank check, no secret royal audience or private endorsement deal signed in a golden palace. But what Eala did get was something far more valuable. She got respect. She got attention from legitimate sponsors who actually matter in the tennis world. She got her name trending globally, not because of manufactured hype, but because of genuine, undeniable on-court excellence. The truth is always better than the fiction when the truth is this good. So what about that quarterfinal everyone's talking about? This is where we need to separate fact from fantasy, because yes, Eala's run in Dubai ended in the quarters. She didn't make the semis, she didn't win the whole tournament, but here's what the disappointed fans and the rumor mills are missing. Making the quarterfinals of a Women's Tennis Association 1000 event when you're ranked 47th in the world and coming off a first-round exit at the Australian Open, that's not a failure, that's a massive, career-defining success. Think about it. The WTA 1000 tournaments are the tier right below the Grand Slams. They feature the best players on the planet, massive prize money, and ranking points that can change careers. Most players ranked outside the top 30 would give anything to make a quarterfinal at this level. AlexEala did it while taking down a top 10 player along the way. That's not just good, that's exceptional. And the fact that some people were disappointed she didn't go further, that's actually the biggest compliment of all, because it means expectations have shifted. People now believe she belongs at this level. They're no longer hoping she can compete, they're expecting her to win. Let's talk about what this means for Philippine tennis, because this is bigger than one player having a good tournament. The Philippines has produced incredible athletes across multiple sports. Boxing legends, basketball stars, world champions in various disciplines. But tennis? Tennis has always been the sport that felt just out of reach, too expensive, too European, too dominated by countries with century-old tennis cultures and endless resources. AlexEala is changing that narrative with every match she plays. She's not just representing herself out there, she's carrying the hopes of an entire nation that's never had a player consistently compete at this level. The young kids in Manila watching her highlights aren't just seeing good tennis, they're seeing possibility. They're seeing someone who looks like them, who comes from where they come from, proving that the highest levels of professional tennis are in some exclusive club they can never join. That's the real fairy tale here. Not the made-up billionaire stories, but the genuine, hard-earned journey of a young woman refusing to accept limits. And let's address the elephant in the court, because we need to talk about that Australian Open first-round exit that everyone was using to write Eala off. Yes, it happened. Yes, it was disappointing. First-round losses at Grand Slams hurt differently because you've waited months for that moment, done all the preparation, felt all the pressure, and then it's over before it really begins. But you know what separates good players from great ones? It's not avoiding losses, it's how you respond to them. Eala could have let Melbourne crush her confidence. She could have started questioning whether she belonged, whether the jump to consistent WTA-level competition was too much too soon. Instead, she took that loss, learned from it, and came out swinging in Dubai. That's mental toughness. That's the kind of resilience that predicts long-term success far better than any single tournament result. Tennis is a brutal sport mentally. You're out there alone. No teammates to pick you up, no timeouts to regroup, just you and your opponent and the voice in your head. The players who succeed at the highest level are the ones who can lose on Tuesday and come back believing they can win on Thursday. Eala just proved she has that quality. Now, about that viral social media support that turned Dubai into a global trending topic, the Filipino tennis community online is something special.
When Eala stepped on that court against Paulini, it wasn't just her family and team watching. It was millions of fans across the Philippines and around the world, flooding social media with support, sharing every point, celebrating every winner like it was match point at Wimbledon. That kind of passionate fan engagement, that's what sponsors notice. That's what tournament directors notice. That's what turns a promising player into a marketable star. And here's the beautiful irony in those fake billionaire rumors, because while the internet was inventing fantasy fiction, the real commercial interest was already building. Because smart brands don't just look at current rankings, they look at trajectory, they look at story, they look at fan engagement. And on all those metrics, AlexEala is exactly the kind of athlete that builds long-term brand value. She's young, she's charismatic, she has a compelling narrative, and she's backed by one of the most passionate.
So where does Eala go from here? That's the question everyone's asking. And honestly, the answer is both exciting and uncertain. Tennis is unpredictable. Players break through and then plateau. Others take years to translate breakthrough performances into consistent success. The difference makers are the ones who can build on these moments, who can turn a great week in Dubai into a foundation for sustained excellence. Eala has all the tools: the forehand that can hurt anyone, the movement that lets her extend points and wear down opponents, the mental game that allows her to stay composed in pressure moments. What she needs now is consistency, the kind that comes from playing more matches at this level, learning to manage the physical and mental demands of the WTA Tour week after week. The breakthrough is real. The question is whether this is the start of a top 30, top 20, maybe even top 10 career, or whether it's a brilliant moment that takes time to build upon. Based on what we saw in Dubai, smart money is on the former. Let's bring this home, because what we witnessed in Dubai transcends rankings and rumors and viral moments. AlexEala, at 20 years old, showed the world that Philippine tennis isn't just a future dream, it's a present reality. She proved that coming from a country without a deep tennis tradition isn't a disadvantage that can't be overcome. She demonstrated that mental toughness, belief, and preparation can level any playing field, even when you're facing the world's elite. The billionaire stories were fiction, but the achievement was real. The royal endorsement was internet fantasy, but the respect she earned from the tennis community was genuine. And while her Dubai run ended in the quarterfinals, the journey that started in that desert tournament is just beginning. For every young Filipino tennis player watching, for every parent wondering if investing in their child's tennis dreams makes sense, for everyone who's ever been told that certain achievements are only for certain people from certain places, AlexEala just delivered a message louder than any billionaire's endorsement could ever be. She said that limits are meant to be broken, that rankings are just numbers waiting to be changed, and that the next generation of tennis stars might just come from places the old guard never expected. Dubai was not the end of AlexEala's fairy tale. It was the opening chapter. And if what we saw in February is any indication, this story is going to be absolutely incredible to watch unfold. Stay tuned, folks, because Baseline Z will be here covering every moment of this remarkable journey.